Hello. How are you guys doing tonight? I am so excited for you guys to be here. Welcome to the hot seat. Many of you are asking, what is the hot seat and who are you? So let me go ahead and answer those questions for you. My name is Taji Wright Fitzhugh. I am the founder and CEO of Kid Mystery. Kid Mystery is where we unlock the science behind learning for all kids. And how do we do that? We do that through supporting brand new teachers, helping them beat burnout before it turns into a resignation. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, most brand new teachers are quitting when their classroom management is getting tough. Okay, when their classroom management is off the chain and the kids are doing what it needs to do, sometimes it can just take the breath out of a brand new teacher. How do I know? Because I was the one before. I was in the classroom. I've been in a situation where I've just literally tried to figure out whether or not I was going to show up the following day. I had my head in my knees, tears coming down my cheeks, and I literally had hives from the stress because I had to transition and figure out what my classroom management would look like. And so our goal through this hot seat is to provide clarity, to sit back, relax, casually, no pressure, and get some gems in order for us to implement, not necessarily in the next month or 2 months or 6 months. We want to make sure that you're getting things that's practical that can actually be applied in the classroom the following day to make sure that you come back on Friday. That's the goal. So we are the first response for brand new teachers. And we want to make sure that we get some real teachers in the hot seat, and let's actually discuss what some of the challenges are in their classroom. So you get a chance to kind of like sit back and listen and learn and explore and try to see like how does this thing actually works out? What can I take from this situation? And how can I make sure that my practice is chef's kiss? Because we want you to get the first response right now. Okay. Now, how many of you guys actually like had a situation in your classroom? You did not know what to do. You were panicking, and everybody that you reached out to didn't even have time to help you. I'm gonna let that sit in. Okay. When you text your principal, they were in a meeting. When you text your mentor teacher, they had a classroom. Okay. When you reached out to a friend, they were also struggling too because they were first year teacher. And all they want to do is just, go to happy hour and talk about the kids. No, you need something that's real. You need something where teachers are able to actually go to a space of experts and take back a real strategy that is not complex so that you can win in the classroom the following day. That's the goal. Okay. So as I am going into my technology right now, I sound like I'm seasoned, huh? I said to my technology. As I go to my to Facebook, I just want to make sure that everything is locked in and loaded, and that you can actually see. Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. I see that I'm live here. Okay. Cool. So I'm here. That's all I wanted to know. So if you have a friend that's a teacher, tell them to follow Kid Mystery EDU. If you are a teacher, you already should be following Kid Mystery EDU. If you are a principal, administrator, decision maker, make sure you are also following Kid Mystery EDU. The only way that we can really truly support teachers in real time is that you are connected with Kid Mystery EDU, because we are the first response system for teachers. So make sure that you are following us and pass this information, because you're about to learn some things. You're going to make sure that you actually make it to August through the summer. We want you to come back. All right. That's the goal. All right. So we're going to welcome our first teacher to the hot seat. So everybody come together and let's applaud Alicia.
Hello.
Hey,
Hello.
Alicia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining the hot seat today.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Girl, let me tell you something. When a teacher come into the situation where they're willing to put it out there, that tells me, and it speaks volumes, that you're willing to grow,
Yes.
that you're committed to win, and that you believe that feedback is a gift. Okay, so I want to go ahead and just put it out there just to make sure that we're good to go. Now, Alicia, tell me, how many years have you been teaching?
I just completed my first year.
Okay, awesome. And what grade level are you teaching?
7th grade.
Seventh grade. Whew, I'm a former middle school teacher, so I understand that. All right, so
Yeah.
you taught seventh grade, and what's your content?
History.
History. So seventh grade history. Okay. Now, when we're thinking about classroom management, can you go ahead and explain to me, like, what is one key problem that you definitely want us to address on the hot seat?
My biggest problem, just looking back on this year, is students talking while I am talking, whether I'm giving instructions or like for an assignment or just like teaching an actual lesson, the content. It was just like a constant chitter chatter here. It wasn't always something big, but it was always something, if that makes sense.
Got you. So while you're giving instructions, students are just like having side conversations.
Yeah.
And that situation can send you up a wall. That could really irritate the daylights out of a person who's trying to process what's going on.
Mm.
All right. So if students are constantly talking, I want to ask you just a few questions. When you are presenting those instructions, where are you proximity wise in the classroom?
I would say I'm pretty like sedentary at the front of the classroom, kind
Mm-hmm.
of where everybody can see me, but I'm like not right next to the talkers. I'm just like speaking to everybody and like, hey, everybody be quiet, everybody like settle down, rather like than going to the talkers and being next to them and getting that like proximity in that way.
Got you. Is the reason why you're not being, you don't have proximity to the talkers because you are afraid of conflict, or is just like naturally you want to be in front of the entire class?
I think for me, it's more of like the conflicts. I was like,
Mhm.
my personality is like very chill. And so I feel like that personality kind of seeped into how I was teaching. And so I was very like passive in that way. And the kids are
Mhm.
not passive at all. And so I think just kind of like not wanting to have conflict or like create an even bigger like situation. And so,
Like
yeah.
scene. You don't want to
Yeah,
create a scene.
exactly.
Okay, I understand that part. I understand it. Okay. So basically, kids are talking, but you are in the middle of the classroom talking to the entire class. Now I'm
Hmm.
gonna tell you straight up, you're gonna have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable because kids respond to proximity.
Hmm.
And if you are in front of the classroom and you are planted, you're not leaning to the left, leaning to the right, trying to figure out, or your tone is not suggestive. When you speak, it is direct, clear, and you're standing planted. Okay. When you are actually presenting your instruction and you're standing planted and you still have kids who are talking while you're trying to give those instruction, you're going to have to walk to that area and provide proximity. Okay.
Okay.
Now,
Hmm.
I'm not saying that you need to stop what you're saying to address them initially. You always start with proximity. Once you start with proximity and they're still talking, make a note that you are going to ask them to restate the instructions that you shared. And not in a conflict way, but it's more so like, okay, I'm proximity. I've naturally like used nonverbals and kind of like tapped on the desk or put my hand on the desk while they were speaking. And if they're still talking and you place your hand in terms of like that's your nonverbal signal for them to stop talking, make sure that you're also saying, okay, now I'm going to ask for clarifying questions or make sure that everybody's clear. Such and such, can you go ahead and restate how much time do you have to work on this assignment? What page are we currently going to be on?
Mm-hmm.
And is this group work or individual work? So you're not saying, didn't I tell you to be quiet and da 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 da. You're using proximity. You're putting a non, you have a nonverbal gesture on the desk, and then you're going to ask the kids who were talking clarifying questions about the content or the instructions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how does that actually land?
That I feel like I can do that. It's not like you said, it's not like calling them out or making a scene or like getting loud with them, but like saying like, hey, I need you to be paying attention, and like this is not like trying to get you moment, but like you need to understand what we're doing and like a learning opportunity. So yeah.
Yeah, and you can directly say, I need you to pay attention because I'm going to ask you what the expectations are. Right? So
Mm-hmm.
again, you're not going to be attacking them, but you're going to use proximity and you're going to be assertive and say, I need you to pay attention because I'm going to ask you. You give them a heads up. So that means that they have to be quiet and listen to your instruction. Therefore, it's not a personal dig to you. It's more so like they need to adhere to the expectation.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other things or questions like that you have for the hot seat?
I would just say like when the kids don't follow like the expectation, especially like if it's a direct like teaching moment, like where like y'all need to get this information 'cause it's on the test or whatever, like how would you, I don't want to say like punish them, but like how would you, like what would be like an appropriate consequence for them continuing like to be disruptive and like not meeting the expectations and like harming the other students? Like what would be an appropriate like step? Like is sending them out of the room like what you should do? Is that like best for the student? And so just like I guess more clarification in that.
Okay, sending them out the room is not an option. Let's put that on the
Okay.
table. Okay. Even though you want to like get out, but then they're out and they're like disturbing other folks and they're
Yes, yeah.
skipping and it's terrible. And then
It's
they're
a
going to say,
mess.
well, she told me to come out.
She
And I
kicked me
remember,
out.
yeah, she kicked me out. And then like you have other students who would literally blame you because you probably forgot about them being out there because you went on with class. So they will blame you for skipping or missing out on content because they literally just out there kicking it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And some students want to get kicked out for that very reason. So
Mm-hmm.
you cannot give them that out. So when we're talking about if they are, I'm sorry, I went on a tangent of them getting kicked out. So what was your original question? What was the question?
So since we're not kicking them out, like how would you, I don't want to say punish, but like what would be a consequence for them like breaking the expectation of like not talking and like being disruptive to their classmates?
Okay, cool, cool, cool. All right. So in this case, clarity is king, right? What I mean by that is that not only are you vocally and verbally saying what your expectations are, but you also need to have those same expectations on your slide deck. So let's say, for instance, you have an assignment, the voice level is a 0, they have a timer, and they're not doing, and they're still not adhering to what you're saying and what they see on the board when the timer is going, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then, as a teacher, you say, okay, it's not personal, but obviously where you're sitting is not conducive to your success. So now I have to make an executive decision. In that executive decision, I'm going to move you and I'm going to move you closer to me so that I can give you the support that you need. Okay. So then it's like, I go over there and say, okay, sweetheart, I need you to go ahead and grab your things and I need you to place it over here and you're going to continue the lesson at this seat. Now, some students are going to be like, why are you over here? Da, 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 da. It's not personal. I need you to go over here and have a seat. If you come over here and have a seat, then and continue on with your assignment, we don't have to move forward with contacting your parents or an administrator or anything like that. I'm just making an executive decision that's going to help you focus in this moment.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Wait and stand in proximity and wait for them to at least start some type of movement. Now, I'm not saying you have to stand there and wait for them to grab everything and move, but it's been times where I'm like, I have to make an executive decision. I stood there, waited for them to grab whatever they needed, and then I kind of walked off and allowed them the free space to move to that space that I've asked them to. Once they get to the space, I thank them for go ahead and making it a better decision for their learning. So I still validated the fact that they made a good decision in that moment. I just had to make an executive decision so that they are not disruptive in this space.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. I understand.
Yeah, now if you do that, make sure your tone is direct and it's not in the
Mm-hmm.
tone where they have an option.
Yeah. Like,
Okay.
this is what was happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what we're going to do. And so, like I said, we provide, like, our experts in our community actually provide these type of opportunities for teachers to have hot seats, collaboration sessions, all of these things, courses and resources. And so if that's something that rings true for you, you're more than welcome. And I'm also talking to the audience as well. Make sure that you are, I'm going to put a link in the chat. And if that's something that interests you, join the community. Okay. Make sure that you're getting the support that you need, because sometimes you can't bet on your principal or the administrator. You need somebody to respond in that moment, or at least check in with you so that you can have an opportunity to win from the outside. Then you go into your classroom and your administrators are like, oh my God, like this is a completely different teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're basically like that back pocket, help that you need, first response that you need in order to win in the classroom. All right. So I appreciate you, Alicia, for just jumping on, asking those questions. Again, stay in contact with us and continue to share the word to all your friends of what Kitmistry actually do. And I'm really hoping that this is something that's going to give you the win that you need tomorrow or at the beginning of August, and not just wait 6 months for the win.
Yes, I definitely appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Y'all give it up for Alicia. All right, my love. I'll see you later, and we're going to stay connected because I want to see you win.
Thank you so much.
Y'all, I'm telling you, the girl was off the chain, and I'm so proud of Alicia being open to being coached in the moment, because so many teachers are dealing with the same challenges that she just spoke about here on our live. So many teachers are dealing with those same challenges, and we want to make sure, again, that we're providing her with the support that she needs so that she can actually win in the classroom. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and share the link that I mentioned to her, and I want to share that to everybody. Connect with us, stay in community with us, follow us on every platform, Kitmistry at Kitmistry EDU, and so that you can continue to learn about what we actually offer and how that can be the first response system that didn't exist for you in your first year, but now you'll have it for year 2 or year 3 or year 4. You never know. So make sure that you're connecting there and staying connected with us. So we got one more teacher, y'all. One more teacher coming to the hot seat. And in case you are joining the party a little late, you're a little tardy, I want to make sure you guys understand that my name is Taji. I am the founder and CEO of Kitmistry, a former teacher. I've been in the classroom on every level. I am a former middle school science teacher, turned to a school co-founder, turned to an administrator and teacher trainer, and now a full-time entrepreneur. And I'm going to tell you this. As an administrator, I had teachers quit before lunch. I had teachers literally zooming off the parking lot and left their keys and their computer on the desk. And students looking to the left and looking to the right, like, where'd my teacher go? Okay. They left before the kids can get there. And I realized in that moment, I was that teacher that a lot of people the administrator that I meant well, but I just didn't have the capacity to help the teachers because I was juggling all the different things like behavior and trying to figure out if they were, leading professional developments and going into meetings with the principal and just so many other things. And so Now I've realized that in order for our kids to truly have an opportunity and have access, we have to make sure that we're supporting their teachers in a very intentional way. And teachers don't have time to wait until you're available next week or a month from now in the next new teacher orientation or 6 months from now when you have your January professional development. They need help in the moment right now so that they can show up the following day. And that's what makes Kid Mystery special and unique for all of our new teachers. We are the first response system that's going to give them the support. Okay. So, welcome to the stage. Welcome into the stage. We have Taj Unique to the stage. Come on, Taj Unique.
Hi.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you for coming. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what grade level you're currently teaching and your content?
Okay, my name is Tajunique Cook. I am a Dallas ISD teacher in high school. I teach English specifically in three different contents. And I'm a TFA alumni.
Oh, congratulations. I'm TFA as well. Okay. So I remember my first year in the classroom was probably not like yours. Mine was like, whoo. Okay. Tell me about your first 2 years in the classroom.
My first year I think was very trying. Like I had a lot of quiet students. And I had some people that were really eager to learn. And then I also had some people that were like really rambunctious and like were throwing off learning for everyone. I had one class, it was my seventh period. It was so chaotic that by December they came in and just like busted up the class and sent a bunch of the kids to like different teachers. So my first year was like, woo, but like I made a lot of like good lasting connections and Velcro students. And then my
Mhm.
second year, I feel like was just so much better. Like I had a lot of those same students that were in my English 2 class that were now my AP students. And then my English 2 kids that I met, they were just so full of life and curiosity and they had like their own personalities and I just feel like we were really able to connect and I was really able to like teach them and engage with them.
Nice. Thank you. Yeah, that's dope. I think I had definitely heard a lot of wins in there, and that was connecting with your students,
Mm-hmm.
even the Velcro ones, right? So
Yes.
tell me about what is one main, and make sure you don't use any students' names, but I just want you to tell me like what is one of the challenges that you experience in your classroom management?
Mm, I would say one thing that I went through this past year was getting some students like to do their work without me having to hold.
Without you having to hold their hands, do the work.
Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
they were, so basically they were they intrinsically motivated in order to get the job done, or they just was kind of like had to be monitored by you?
I don't think they had any intrinsic motivation, and I have some like extrinsic motivation kind of things like tickets and a prize box and things like that to kind of like entice them. But I think they had their own personal things going on at home, and
Mm-hmm.
that outweighed their concern for academic success.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've experienced this a lot. Like I would have like students who I know are more than capable, but just did not process what was going on clearly, and they had to be taught how to wean off of the teacher's support in order to for them to be helpful or excuse me, successful in your class, right?
Yes.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
Mhm.
What systems did you have in place that still provided them the support that they needed, like access to content or lessons or anything like that, without you having to prompt it?
So we have our Google Classroom, so they're able to go up there and look at the slides or look at the readings, the questions, and in the instruction area, I have like detailed like 1, 2, 3 kind of step instructions. So I would say that's probably the biggest thing, as well as maybe like their classmates. A lot of them got into the habit of like helping or trying to explain things to one another.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what grade level was this?
Uh, Particularly with the ones that had the issues, I would say sophomore.
Okay, that's an interesting age range. Yeah, sophomore is an interesting age range. Okay. So one of the things that I'm hearing is that we have some students who are not necessarily motivated to kind of like get stuff done.
Mhm.
How was your how was your opportunity, like how was the interaction with their parents?
Um, Honestly, so for that, for actually for the two students I have in mind, I wasn't able to get any communication back with their, so
Okay.
that wasn't an angle that I could use, unfortunately. So I had to go to the next best.
Okay. Okay, makes sense. Okay, so this is the thing. In your classroom, you are responsible for creating an environment for learning. And in that creation of the environment for learning, sometimes it is the environment has to be a no excuse environment. Okay. Meaning you are clear and concise about what you're asking them to do on your slide deck. You have a timer that has the expectation for them to get something done, whatever your instructions are, to get it done within a certain amount of time. You're also clear and concise about your delivery. So when those same instructions that are on the slide deck are also, you're delivering it in a very clear and concise way. Okay. And you have to make sure that there is a way for them to still be able to access it even after you've taught the content, right? So your Google Classroom. So for instance, in my 6th grade classroom at one point, I presented the content, I shared the details, and then I taught them how to have, they had laptops. So I taught them how to still access the Google Classroom through their laptops in order to see the vocabulary or look in their science notebooks to be able to refer back to the vocabulary. So instructionally, you want to make sure that there's no opting out whatsoever.
Mhm.
Okay. Now you set that up. Let's say, for instance, it sounds as if the student may have like a learning deficit and there may be a significant gap. So even if you provide these things, which you need to, now we need to get into like what is the learning deficit and what is the specific gap. Okay. Because you've already was clear about those instructions. So now let's look into, okay, is there an IEP in place? Is there not an IEP? Okay, the IEP specifically kind of like you need to provide extra time or so forward like that. So if you provide the extra time and all of that, you adhere to the IEP. If there's no IEP, then it tells me that I need to give the students the same task but in chunks. Meaning that once they complete, like for instance, the entire class may have like a full page to complete. For this particular student, you may have them, okay, complete questions 1 through 4 and change this color tab from red to green. And once you turn it to green, I'm going to come back, I'm going to check in and see where you are. So it's the same content, but for that particular person, you may have like a signal and say, okay, once you complete these 4 questions, you can turn it to green and I'll check your work. Because it sounds as if they really need a person to constantly give them affirmation because it may be a reading deficit or a learning, some type of learning gap. Also, it's essential for you to give them as many reasons to lean on to grow in their own ability to learn for themselves. So you chunk it, ask a buddy, and you designate one buddy that they can actually communicate with that will not give them the answers. You got to train them ahead of time, but
Mhm.
that can actually guide them through the process. So now they are independent learners and they're learning how to utilize the resources around them before they actually come back to you. So seriously, just with those two strategies, how do you think effectively you'll be able to implement that, and does it actually help?
Honestly, I think those are wonderful strategies. Uh, Honestly, for this particular student, I done with.
I think you can you repeat that because your sound is kind of cutting out. And
Yes,
then
I'm. You hear me better now?
yes, uh-huh.
Okay, I was saying with this particular student, I did actually try that buddy system with them,
Mm-hmm.
and they they told me that whole like I prefer to work alone thing, and I was like, oh no, I
Mhm.
totally understand that. But I tell them like it's important to be able to, communicate your ideas and your questions with people around you that may be able to help. And the student didn't want to engage with said buddies. Unfortunately, I sat them in the same area, and it was like this student, the buddy, and then maybe three other people that they could have spoken to. I do think chunking is something that helps the student with like the step by step, like so they don't feel pressured. But the whole buddy system, I think they were being kind of stubborn.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, I had the students like that too. They kind of act like they don't want to interact with nobody and things of that nature. And you never
Yes,
know. Like, what I've realized is that when somebody is embarrassed about a learning gap, they don't want other people to see it.
that makes sense.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, perhaps the chunking is the same work. You don't have to add anything different from what you already do because you got the resources in Google Classroom. You may have an anchor chart that tells them the processes. And the only thing is that instead of writing a full page like everybody else is, because are you a writing or a math teacher?
Writing.
Writing, okay. So instead of writing a full page like everyone else, you may have them check in with you after each paragraph.
Okay. Beautiful.
Hmm. But it's obvious there's a gap, and they just kind of feel a certain type of way about it.
I agree.
Hmm.
The student is EB, and I feel like they have the capabilities to push themselves. I think they're partly there's that gap, and I think an even smaller part of it is like not a desire to or feel like they can maybe close that gap easily, so they don't really have that motivation to try.
Hmm.
Because I tried to communicate with their teacher, their ninth grade teacher, and they said they did the same thing last year. So I tried to like break down the barriers with rapport, figuring out what they like to do, their interests, integrating them. So I do think the fact that they were emergent bilingual and then um, maybe didn't want to put in that extra potentially to help
Hmm.
them. But
Yeah, for sure. I mean, when you added the fact that they were emerging bilingual and they're learning a whole different language,
Mhm.
that was the gap. And I,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying? And so that would make any student kind of like shut down. So with my emerging bilingual students, chunking is very essential, teaching them how to use the resources. And if there's some type of like writing framework, they actually they need to learn how to adjust that framework for them. So they will put like cognates next to each of those parts of the framework to teach them like what that would look like for them. And what I mean by cognates is that it's just like basically whatever that word is in Spanish or whatever language that they're that they're more comfortable with,
Mhm.
allowing them to put the cognates next to your learning framework or your anchor chart, and then they're able to kind of like write out what they want to do, what they want to say in Spanish, and then translate it on their own. They still got to translate it. They got to learn how to write it in English, but at
Right.
least let them confidently get their thoughts out first and
Yes.
chunk it for English.
Yes.
The whole goal is to build their confidence. Once you build their confidence and like saying, hey, it's not going to happen right now, but it's going to happen over time, then you have to, as long as you continue to provide a space for them to still translate that into English, they still have to get to the English, goal, but you provide as much confidence that they need in order for them to feel more comfortable with being vulnerable in that space of not understanding the language 100%.
Yes. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now we get in. Your question is like a little more so in the content, but most of my students were emerging bilingual, and I had a class that I believe it was like 40%, like 40% of my roster was emerging bilingual,
Yeah.
and from August to May, I want to say that all of my students grew not only in the language, but I taught science. They were able to connect the cognates to science, and they had the higher scores by the end of the year.
Woo!
Yeah. So, I mean, it just takes time. And unfortunately, when a student's been hit and hit and hit their over the course of their journey in education, by the time they get to you in the 10th grade, they just feel a little insecure. And so you have to celebrate the small wins. And chunking is going to allow you to see those small wins.
Well said. Thank you.
Good. Did that answer your question?
100%. Thank you.
Okay, good. And we continue to do things like this in our community where we're providing that space for teachers to talk to experts, have us have that coaching, and then come back to the classroom and they're ready, really efficient for their kids. And it gives the teacher a little bit more confidence to actually show up because they got somebody that they can ask for advice that won't judge them.
Right.
And they're not going to count, sometimes when you feel like you're talking to your administrator, you may feel like they may score you lower
Right. For your
in the
team.
next, like in the next observation. Well, in this case, we're not even connecting that regard. So you just literally have that safe space to really just put it all out there and really get something concrete to try the following day.
Okay. Thank you so much. No, this is super helpful. I love what you're doing here.
Oh, good. Thank you, Tajanique. This was dope. And so I want to, y'all give Tajanique a hand, y'all.
Thank y'all.
So many teachers really have these same questions, but they just don't have the space to be able to really just say it out loud. And I appreciate you for coming on to a live, putting it out there. And I'm telling you, you cannot imagine how many more teachers you're going to help with this.
Thank you so much, Taji. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I also thank you, Tajanique, for joining the party. I definitely want you guys to understand that we have a webinar this Saturday at 10 a.m. Central Time. During that time, our goal is to help you make it to August. Okay, you barely made it to May, and our goal is to get you a plan so that you can start strong in August. Okay, so May almost broke you, but we have a fix for August. Click on the link. Make sure that you are looking at all our resources that we have. Join us on the webinar. We even have an opportunity for you to be VIP. VIP is going to have the hot seat experience. You're going to have access to even more questions. Leave with a plan and strategies that's going to help you start off a really good, strong school year. In addition to a guide that it is aligned, okay, only for $57. So make sure that you guys are clicking on the link, sharing more, learning more about what we do, and that we can make sure that you have access to that webinar and all the things that you need in order for you to sign up, okay? Again, our goal for the hot seat is for real teachers to share what their real problems are so that we can give them real solutions in the moment. They don't have time to wait until next year or in a few months. They need help now. And our goal is to do that. So again, follow us at Kidmistry EDU. If you have any questions or desire to be on the hot seat, I will have an application. You're more than welcome to apply to start us to join the hot seat and get your questions out there so that you can get the emergency response support that you deserve and to win in the classroom. Okay. So again, follow us. I'm super excited, and there will be another hot seat tomorrow. So tune in. Thank you guys. Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you so much, Tajanique. And I will see you all on the other end. Bye.